Tell us about Rudy Giuliani and why you decided to add to your duties and responsibilities.
Well, I think he's the right man for these times. He's demonstrated he's very strong in a crisis. In New York City, his achievements, I think, are profound, of historic magnitude, changing the whole welfare system in the most liberal city in America against a powerful political establishment, decades-old traditions of doing this kind of thing. He did that well before the Reform Act of 1996. He was tackling that. And he also changed how the New York City was policed. And New York City's crime rate fell far more than any other major city in the country, and it was because of the policies that he pushed relentlessly against fierce opposition. And he was also a fiscal conservative. The spending growth in New York City was less than the rate of inflation, far less than what was on the federal level, and far less than it was on the state level.
A lot of people think big city mayor, big New York mayor is a big taxer. Not true?
Not true. He cut taxes. He cut the top income tax rate 21%. He cut 22 other taxes, including the city's occupancy tax, which was driving away business from conventions. So here you go in a minority party, talking about the Republican Party in New York City, going against the political establishment, going against much of the media, and a city council that is 90% Democrat.
But
and he did it.
All right, but what did he say about the flat tax?
He knows the federal income tax code is garbage. He wants to simplify it. And while he hasn't endorsed a specific proposal, the fact that he's willing to cut taxes and the fact that he's willing to try to simplify the thing, seeing what he did with policing, seeing what he did with welfare and spending in New York City and taxes, I believe that if he goes against the federal income tax code, he will ultimately win.
Very politic, very smart. I know what you're saying. A guy this smart sooner or later will come around to my flat tax, right?
I think we can work to have him see the light. And the key thing is, if he does, he knows how to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, he was opposed, but he is also opposed to the federal tax code and is looking for a better way.
He's not opposed to the flat tax.
He's not opposed.
He's with the idea now.
He was opposed, though.
He knows he wants to simplify the code.
I thought he was opposed, though, in the 90s. No?
He was, but
okay.
But that was just a throwaway question. He hadn't even remembered it. But he did say that he liked what Reagan did in the mid-'80s when he tried to clean up the code. So the guy's instincts are right, and that's what I'm looking for.
Explain something to me, because there's a lot of debate about it. People say, yeah, but before 9/11, this guy had a very low approval rating in New York. He was not popular with New Yorkers.
And that's held against him? I mean,
you're appealing to the rest of the country. Okay, that's very funny. That's very funny. Oh, you're going to hear that again. Go ahead, Mr. Forbes. That's held against him.
Look, he is very forceful. He's not a soothing Oprah type of personality.
Right.
And I think that's what made him so effective in New York. And he was unpopular because of those peripheral reasons, not because of people were profoundly upset by what he had achieved.
Yeah.
They gave him acknowledgement for his achievements. They just said, we don't want to live with the guy anymore.
Let's talk about, the objection. And let me just say, in fairness, this is a center-right audience that listens to this show. By the way, we moved up to number 8. We were number 9. We've now passed Don Imus by 750,000, speaking of a New Yorker.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're very, very pleased. You and others who come on are a big cause of this. But this audience, center-right audience, likes Rudy Giuliani, even though on some of these social issues he is to the left of a lot of the audience. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, he is, but I think the key thing there, and this is what should not be in America, but it is today, is that much social policy is guided or made by judges. And if you appoint judges of the caliber of Alito and Roberts, a lot of this is going to be back in the hands of the people where it should be. And one thing George Bush did right, far better than his predecessors, is at least on his 2 Supreme Court appointments, both have ended up being first rate. And if that can continue for a couple of more appointments, then I think we see a fundamental shift in this country.
Yeah, a couple of the ideas for Supreme Court maybe weren't so great, but the ones he actually got were terrific.
Yeah.
You make a very good point. I heard you make the point on Cavuto yesterday, too. Unfortunately, social policy is made by the courts. I've heard this before from the Giuliani campaign, because it's made by the courts and because he's pledged to appoint people like Alito. But if he were making social policy, and indeed the president does have a bully pulpit, take an issue like abortion. I know you're pro-life, the Hyde Amendment. I mean, that's not a matter of the courts. That's a matter of federal legislation. What would he do with something like the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal funding of abortion?
Very good question, and I don't think that's something that he has grappled with.
Okay.
But I think that, again, the key is that we've got to get a shift in the courts. I mean, a partial birth abortion, for crying out loud, is being overturned by federal judges in parts of the country. And if we're going to get a real debate on this subject and get it back in the hands of the public square instead of the judiciary, which Roe v. Wade, as we know, has fundamentally poisoned the political atmosphere in America, we don't get it back in the public square. The Hyde Amendment, important though that was, is going to be peripheral victories, not getting to the heart of the matter.
Right. Listen, Steve, thanks very much. You're very kind to come on, and we don't want to keep you further. I'm sure you got a lot to do, but it's a great thing for Rudy Giuliani that you've signed on. Let me just say that. That speaks very well of him. So thank you.
As we said at the beginning, I think that he is the right man for these times and knows how to get big things done, and that's what we need.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Steve Forbes. Thanks very much.